The movie begins with a scene where a king leads his knights against a monstrous dragon. They march into the dragon's cave and come face to face with the creature, which breathes fire, burning many soldiers to death. Some soldiers attempt to flee, but the dragon hunts them down. The king, finding himself alone, surrenders to the creature. Centuries later, we meet two sisters, Elodie and Floria, who are princesses of a poor kingdom surrounded by harsh and barren lands. Their kingdom is collapsing, and the people are in poverty and starving, fighting over food and struggling to survive. The sisters enter the room where their parents are meeting with a red priestess who is visiting their kingdom. The priestess asks their father, Lord Bayford, for Elodie's hand in marriage to the prince of the wealthy kingdom of Aurea. It becomes clear that Lord Bayford has agreed to the marriage for the survival of their own kingdom. Elodie is reluctant and uncertain about the arrangement, but she eventually agrees for the sake of her people. The family of four sails to the kingdom of Aurea, where Elodie is set to marry Prince Henry. Upon arrival, they are welcomed by a dragon statue gate that looks so realistic it frightens them at first. As they enter the main city, they are astonished by the wealth and prosperity of Aurea. Inside the castle, the sisters are mesmerized by its beauty and luxury. Elodie thinks this might be the best thing to happen in her life. She walks around her room, enjoying a fruit treat, and is captivated by a woman she sees in the landscape, who quickly retreats inside before Elodie can say hello. That night, Elodie draws in her room and steps out to get some fresh air, noticing a mysterious flame in the mountains. Floria arrives to sleep with her, and they talk about their parents. It turns out the woman Elodie saw is not their mother but their stepmother. The next morning, Elodie meets Queen Isabel of Aurea and her future husband, Prince Henry. The queen and the other adults have a private conversation while Elodie and Henry spend the day getting to know each other. Elodie is charmed by Henry and feels she made the right choice agreeing to the marriage. They sneak away from the guards to ride horses, and Henry is impressed by Elodie's skills, which she says her mother taught her. He then shows her around the kingdom. Back at the castle, Queen Isabel and Lord Bayford have a private conversation. When Lord Bayford emerges, his wife asks if there is anything wrong, but he dismisses her questions and acts strangely. Outside, Elodie and Henry enjoy their time together, with Henry suggesting they travel the world one day. Elodie dreams of that day too. Meanwhile, Lady Bayford offers her assistance with the wedding ceremony to Queen Isabel, who coldly dismisses her, saying they are just in-laws and not a united family. This intrigues Lady Bayford, who senses something is off. At night, Lady Bayford tries to warn Elodie and suggests calling off the wedding, but their conversation is interrupted by Lord Bayford. The next morning, the maids dress Elodie for her wedding, and she looks beautiful. Floria watches as Elodie marries Prince Henry and is declared the Princess of Aurea. After the celebration, she bids goodbye to her family and leaves the castle with Henry. On their journey, Henry tells Elodie they are going to an ancient ceremony in the mountains to honor his ancestors. At the top, they find Queen Isabel dressed as a red priestess, surrounded by people in masks. Isabel retells the story of how Aurea was founded. The king had to sacrifice his 3 daughters to a beast in exchange for the safety of his people. Isabel then makes Elodie and Henry perform a blood pact, joining their hands and cutting them. After the ceremony, Henry surprisingly apologizes and throws Elodie into a chasm. Elodie wakes up in the dragon's lair, realizing she is the sacrifice. She calls for help and hears the dragon approaching. She sees a pile of shoes and accessories from previous victims, realizing this is a ritual sacrifice. Elodie encounters a bird on fire, which catches the dragon's attention. The dragon talks to her, revealing it can smell royal blood from Henry's hand mixed with hers. The dragon breathes fire at her, but Elodie manages to run and hide. In the cave, Elodie finds the corpse of the woman she saw on the balcony and sees a map on the wall showing an escape route. She uses accessories on her gown to make a light and follows the map, despite injuring herself along the way. She eventually reaches a glowing cave filled with glowworms, which heal her wounds. Elodie realizes the glowworms can help her and continues her journey. Elodie encounters more obstacles, including narrow paths and cliffs, but she perseveres. She finds more evidence of previous sacrifices, including the names of other victims. She dreams of one victim, Victoria, who tells her everything was a lie. When Elodie wakes, she panics but calms down when she realizes the glowworms are healing her wound. She apologizes for underestimating them and continues her journey. Elodie eventually finds a larger room with the remains of 3 baby dragons surrounded by gold jewelry and coins. She realizes Queen Isabel's story was a lie. The king attacked the dragon's lair unprovoked, killing the baby dragons and taking the gold. The dragon, in pain, spared the king but demanded 3 daughters as a sacrifice. Elodie hears her father calling her name and rushes to find him. Lord Bayford and his men have entered the cave to rescue Elodie, but the dragon attacks them. Bayford pleads for his daughter's life, but is fatally wounded by the dragon. Elodie comforts him in his last moments, and he tells her there are men waiting for her on a ship outside. Elodie escapes the cave using a rope her father used and takes his horse back to the castle, but the dragon follows her. She hides as the dragon burns the area, and the scene shifts to Queen Isabel capturing Floria as a replacement sacrifice. Elodie learns of this and willingly descends into the chasm again to save her sister. She sets up a booby trap using her hair and gathers glowworms to heal her wounds and her sister's. The dragon guards Floria, waiting for Elodie. Elodie distracts the dragon with the booby trap and rescues Floria, hiding her before confronting the dragon. Elodie tries to explain the truth to the dragon, but it refuses to believe her. The dragon breathes fire, and Elodie uses a concave-shaped rock to deflect the fire back at the dragon, injuring it. She then uses glowworms to heal the dragon's wounds, proving her honesty. The dragon is finally convinced. The next morning, Elodie confronts Queen Isabel and Prince Henry, exposing their crimes. Some people flee in fear, but others stay in confusion. The dragon appears, burning the royals and the castle. Elodie walks away with the dragon flying over her, and her family returns to their ship, heading back home with the dragon. The end.